They grabbed him like he was being arrested. One man's palm drove flat into his chest hard enough to stop his forward momentum completely. Another hand clamped around his left elbow from behind, fingers digging in, steering him sideways before he could take another step. The head of security materialized on his right jaw, set one hand already raised toward the ballroom doors. Marcus Tillman, a black sanitation worker who had spent 8 years getting up before sunrise, so this town's streets were clean, didn't resist. He didn't shout. He walked. 200 guests in summer formal wear watched it happen. Crystal chandeliers threw warm light across their faces. Every single face was still, blank, like marble. And Patricia Weston stood at the edge of the dance floor in her white pantsuit, watched him being escorted out, and said to no one to everyone, with the calm of a woman who had never once been told no, "A black garbage man wandering into my daughter's wedding. I don't know what's more embarrassing, that he showed up, or that someone actually let him through the door." When she smoothed the front of her blazer, she turned back to her guests. She smiled. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that a phone on the other side of that ballroom was still recording, and the man she just had removed. His last name was on a federal courthouse 30 minutes down the road. This story doesn't end at those doors. It ends in a courtroom. Stay with me, because you will not believe how completely this unravels. Drop your location and local time in the comments right now. I want to know where in the world you're watching this. And if stories like this find you at the right moment, hit subscribe. You'll want to be here when part 2 begins. The alarm goes off at 5 a.m. Marcus Tillman doesn't hit snooze. He never has. He swings his legs off the mattress before the second beep, sits on the edge of the bed for exactly 4 seconds. An old habit, something his mother taught him. And then he's up. The apartment is small. 1 bedroom, East Crestwood, 3rd floor of a building that was probably nice in 1987 and has been quietly declining ever since. The floors are clean. The kitchen counters are clear. A bookshelf against the living room wall holds James Baldwin, a Chilton auto repair manual, 2 years of National Geographic, and a framed photograph of a woman standing outside the Crestwood Public Library with a stack of picture books under her arm. She is smiling at whoever is holding the camera. She looks like someone who believed that stories could save people. Her name was Ruth. She was a school librarian. She read to Marcus every single night until he was 13 years old, not because he couldn't read himself, he could by age 7, but because she understood that a child who falls asleep to the sound of a human voice reading words out loud grows up knowing the world is not entirely cold. She died of pancreatic cancer when Marcus was 21, 3 months from diagnosis to burial. She didn't complain about the pain. She complained about the books she wouldn't finish. Marcus puts the photo in his jacket pocket every morning. He has done this for 13 years. He doesn't explain it to anyone. He doesn't need to. From the bedroom doorway, a beagle mix named Depot raises his head from the foot of the mattress, decides the situation doesn't require him, and puts his chin back down. Marcus makes coffee, pours kibble, stands in the kitchen and looks at the closet door. Hanging there still in its dry cleaning bag is a tuxedo. He bought it 5 weeks ago. Not on a whim, on a plan. 5 consecutive Saturday overtime shifts on the Birch Elm route, starting at 4:45 a.m., running 2 hours past his normal clock out. The math worked out to $912. He paid cash at a place on Merchant Street called Callaway Formal, and a tailor named Mr. Pham took in the shoulders and told him he looked like somebody's father on graduation day, which Marcus took as a compliment. Today, his younger half-brother Jordan is getting married. Marcus is the best man. Jordan Tillman is 28 years old, lives in a 4-bedroom house in North Crestwood, works in commercial finance, and is marrying a woman named Brooke Weston at a venue called Magnolia Hall Estate, the kind of place that has its own Wikipedia page and charges a $4,000 cake-cutting fee. Marcus has been to the estate once before for the rehearsal dinner, where he wore his good blazer, and someone still asked him if he was with the catering staff. He smiled, and said no. He didn't make a thing of it. The brothers are close. In the way that men who grew up in different worlds can be close, meaning they had to choose it deliberately every time. They fish together every October on the Rappahannock River. They argue about football with the specific intensity of people who genuinely don't agree. When Jordan called Marcus 2 years ago to say he was proposing to Brooke, Marcus was the first person he told. When Jordan asked him to be best man, he didn't finish the sentence before Marcus said yes. They share a father. Judge Gerald Tillman, 66, is one of the most respected federal circuit judges in the Eastern District of Virginia. Tall, measured, precise a man who has spent 30 years in a system that requires impartiality and has built his entire identity around delivering it. He has 2 sons by 2 different women. Jordan grew up with Gerald in the big house on Hartwell Drive, stone columns, and a circular driveway. Marcus grew up with Ruth in East Crestwood, 9 miles, and an entirely different set of expectations away. Gerald loves both his sons. He shows it the way the law shows fairness, consistently without fanfare, and sometimes in ways that take years to understand. Marcus has no bitterness about any of it. He made peace with the geography of his childhood a long time ago. What he has instead is clarity. He knows exactly who he is. He knows what his hands have built. He knows what they're worth. At 3:42 p.m., his phone buzzes. A text from his deputy sewer. Main collapsed. Birch and 7th. I'm out sick again. Crew is short. Marcus looks at the tuxedo. He looks at the phone. He does the math. The main won't hold. The crew is 2 people short on a Friday afternoon. If he doesn't go, the block floods by nightfall, and 5 families spend their weekend dealing with backed-up sewage in their basements. He calls his supervisor. I'm on my way. He texts Jordan. Emergency call, running late. Save me a seat, I'll be there. I promise. Jordan replies in 11 seconds, a thumbs-up emoji and a red heart. Marcus works the collapse in the late afternoon heat. June in Virginia, the humidity wraps around the chest like wet concrete. Sweat darkens his polo from the collar down. His boots sink into the mud at the excavation site. He works until the seal holds, until the block is safe, until the job is done, because that is the only way he knows how to work. He finishes at 6:48 p.m. The tuxedo is 9 miles away on a closet door. The ceremony started at 5. He does the math again. There is no version of the math that works. He drives to Magnolia Hall in his work polo windows, down Ruth's photo on the passenger seat, telling himself it doesn't matter what he's wearing. Jordan will understand. He'll explain. It'll be fine. He pulls into the Magnolia Hall parking lot at 7:03 p.m. A valet in a black vest looks at his city sanitation truck, then at his polo, then at his boots. The valet reaches for his radio. Marcus doesn't notice. He's already walking toward the entrance. The front desk is staffed by a woman in a black blazer with a clipboard and a headset, and the practiced smile of someone paid to make distinctions feel polite. Marcus gives his name. She scans the list, finds it, checks the box, issues a wristband without looking up. He's in. He steps through the double doors into the ballroom, and the scale of the room hits him the way it always does in places like this. Not awe, exactly. More like the physical awareness that this space was built to make certain people feel large and others feel small, and it knows exactly which category to assign him before he takes a second step. Crystal chandeliers cascade from a 30-foot ceiling. The floor is white Italian marble, polished to a mirror finish. Round tables draped in ivory linen fill the center of the room, each one centered with tall floral arrangements, gardenias and white roses that cost more than Marcus makes in a week. A string quartet plays softly near the far wall. 200 guests in summer formal wear pastels pressed linen-tailored suits move between tables with champagne flutes in hand. Marcus is the only black person in the room. He is also the only person not in formal wear. His dark green sanitation department polo, still damp at the collar from 6 hours of outdoor work, catches the chandelier light in a way that feels almost aggressive, an ink stain on a white tablecloth. His boots still carry faint traces of mud from the excavation site. He is aware of this. He keeps walking. He spots Jordan across the floor, tuxedo, grinning, one arm around Brooke, the other raised toward an uncle across the room. Marcus starts moving toward him. He is maybe 40 feet away when a woman steps directly into his path. Patricia Weston is 56 years old, and she has the particular composure of a woman who has never had to raise her voice to get what she wants. White pantsuit, diamond brooch at the lapel, hair set and sprayed into a shape that will outlast the evening. Her smile is the kind that operates on a thermostat, present, controlled, never warm. She looks at his polo. She looks at his boots. She does not look at his face. The caterer's entrance is on the east side, sweetheart. Her voice is helpful, redirecting. The tone of someone correcting a small, forgivable error. I'm not with the catering staff, Marcus says. I'm Jordan's brother. I'm Marcus Tillman. Patricia's smile does not shift a single degree. Her eyes move to the woman standing beside her. A friend. A co-conspirator in the language of a glance. And she says, not quietly, not privately, with the confidence of a woman who has never been wrong in her own home. A black garbage man wandering into my daughter's wedding. The help has gotten awfully creative tonight. Marcus keeps walking. He is 15 feet from Jordan when a hand lands on his chest. Dwight Calder is 47 broad through the shoulders. Patricia's business partner of 12 years, a man who has spent his career turning other people's problems into transactions. His palm connects with Marcus's sternum with enough force to stop him completely. His smile is the cousin of Patricia's, practiced certain of its own authority. Hey, pal. Dwight's voice is the voice of a man who has never once considered that he might be wrong. I don't know who let you in, but this is a private event. This isn't the place for you. My brother is the groom, Marcus says. Dwight smiles wider. Sure he is. Then the second hand, Spencer, 53. Patricia's neighbor board member of the Crestwood Garden Society comes from behind and clamps his fingers around Marcus's left elbow, not a touch, a grip deliberate, and practiced the grip of a man who has done this kind of thing before and called it something gentler each time. His voice is low, country club calm. Let's not make a scene. Just walk this way. Nice and easy. Ray Ochoa arrives from the right. A second guard materializes on the left. Marcus is boxed 4 men, 4 points of physical contact, a human wall that has decided the outcome before the conversation is over. And the ballroom goes silent. Not gradually, all at once. The string quartet stops mid-phrase. Champagne flutes pause halfway to lips. Conversations dissolve mid-sentence. 200 people turn and watch. Not one of them speaks. Not one of them moves. The silence has weight, the particular weight of a crowd that has chosen a side without saying a word, that has decided by stillness alone that whatever is happening to that man in the green polo is not their problem. Near the back of the room, a 15-year-old girl named Kayla Jordan's niece by marriage raises her hand. Just slightly. Just enough that the woman beside her notices and puts a firm hand on her arm and shakes her head once. Kayla lowers her hand. At the far end of the room, a woman named Leah Voss is holding her phone sideways, arm relaxed against the table. She has been streaming live on Instagram for the last 12 minutes, narrating the reception for college friends in Baltimore. She doesn't realize the camera is still rolling. She doesn't realize what it's capturing. Marcus doesn't resist. He doesn't shout. He doesn't explain again. He walks shoulder-square, chin-level boots, leaving faint mud prints on the polished marble, with every step each one a quiet signature the cleaning crew will erase before dessert. The ballroom doors open. The lobby passes. The front entrance, and then the night air warm, thick, sweet with gardenias from the ceremony he never got to see. He finds his truck in the parking lot. He gets in. He puts Ruth's photo on the dashboard in front of him. He sits there for 14 minutes. He doesn't cry. He just breathes. Behind him, through the glass doors of Magnolia Hall, Patricia Weston is already back on the dance floor. And across the room on a phone propped casually against a champagne bucket, a live stream is still running. Still recording, still transmitting to an audience that is about to become very, very large. Leah Voss doesn't realize the stream is still running until she picks up her phone at 9:47 p.m. to call an Uber. The notification stops her cold. Live viewers, 14,200. She stares at the number. Refreshes. 14,600. She looks at the screen, scrolls back through the stream, and watches for the first time from the outside, from the angle her phone caught everything that happened in that ballroom. Dwight's palm against Marcus's chest. Spencer's grip on his elbow. Ray Ochoa stepping in with his second guard. The crowd. The silence. The walk. And Patricia's voice picked up clean by the phone's microphone from 12 feet away, calm and flat and certain. A black garbage man wandering into my daughter's wedding. The help has gotten awfully creative tonight. Leah sits down on a bench in the parking lot and watches it 3 times. Then she screenshots the viewer count, now 21,000, and texts her friend in Baltimore a single line. I don't think I should take this down. She doesn't take it down. By Sunday morning, the stream has been screen recorded, cropped, trimmed to its sharpest 41 seconds, and reposted on every platform that exists. By 9 a.m., the clip has 180,000 views. By noon, it is at 940,000. By 6 p.m., 2 separate versions have crossed 1 million. By midnight Sunday, the combined view count across all reposts sits at 2.6 million and is still climbing the way water rises in a basement slow and then suddenly at your knees. The hashtag wedding. While Black trends nationally for 21 consecutive hours, the comment sections don't fill with abstract outrage. They fill with something more unsettling recognition. This happened to my dad at a hotel in Atlanta. My cousin got stopped at his own company's Christmas party. They thought he was a valet. I'm a surgeon. I got pulled aside at a fundraiser last year. They asked to see my invitation twice. Nobody else got asked once. The stories stack up like evidence, each one a data point in a pattern that the people living it already knew, and the people outside it are only now beginning to see. By Monday morning, Magnolia Hall Estate has released an official statement. It is 118 words long. The word protocols appears 4 times. The word sorry does not appear at all. Magnolia Hall Estate is committed to the safety and comfort of all guests. Our security staff followed established event protocols consistent with the hosting party's expressed preferences. We take all guest concerns seriously and are conducting an internal review of Saturday's incident. Appropriate action will be taken if our protocols are found to have been inconsistently applied. Protocols. The word lands in the comments like an accelerant. Within 3 hours, the statement has been screenshotted, annotated, and dissected across Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. Someone counts the word protocols and posts the count in bold. Someone else notes that there is no acknowledgement of race. No acknowledgement of the 2 private citizens, Dwight and Spencer, who initiated physical contact before security was ever involved. The statement reads like a document written by lawyers who were told the goal was to say something without saying anything. It works perfectly as a legal document. As a human response, it is a catastrophe. Patricia Weston's social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, go private by Monday afternoon. Her real estate brokerage, Weston Premier Properties, quietly removes her headshot and biography from the company's website. Through a spokesperson, she releases 4 sentences. This is a private family matter. I acted out of concern for the security of the event. I was not aware of the individual's relationship to the groom. I have no further comment at this time. She calls it a family matter. She had Marcus removed precisely because she refused to believe he was family. Dwight Calder is identified by Tuesday morning. Someone in the comments recognized him from a commercial real estate conference in Roanoke. His LinkedIn profile receives over 400 comments in 5 hours before he deactivates it. His firm, Calder Development Group, issues a statement. Mr. Calder's actions at a private event do not reflect the values or standards of this organization. They don't specify which values. They don't describe which actions. They use the word private twice in 2 sentences. Spencer Ash deletes every social media account he owns within 36 hours. He says nothing publicly. His silence is a different kind of statement, not the silence of a man who has nothing to say, but of a man who has been advised very carefully not to say it. Marcus says almost nothing either, but his silence is different in kind. He doesn't post. He doesn't give interviews. He goes to work Monday morning at 5 a.m. and drives the Birch Elm route the same way he always does. On Tuesday afternoon, a reporter from the Crestwood NBC affiliate finds him at a gas station on the corner of Birch and 9th. Marcus is filling the tank of his personal truck. The reporter asks for a comment. Marcus looks directly at the camera. He pauses for 4 full seconds. Then he says in a voice that is steady and quiet and completely without performance, "I just wanted to watch my brother get married." 8 words, that's all. The clip runs 40 seconds, including the reporter's question. It gets 740,000 views by Wednesday evening. Not because of what Marcus says, because of what he doesn't. Because of the 4 seconds before he says it. Because of the way a man looks when he is telling a simple truth that should never have needed to be said out loud. By Thursday, national outlets are calling the Crestwood Courier. CNN runs a segment. MSNBC books a commentator. And Jordan Tillman, the groom, Marcus's brother, the man who was standing in a tuxedo 40 feet away when it happened, has still not posted, has not been interviewed, has not spoken publicly in any form. His honeymoon was supposed to start Monday. He and Brooke are at a rental house on the Outer Banks. The ocean is right outside the window. Jordan hasn't looked at it once. He sits with his phone and reads comments he cannot answer and watches a clip of his brother's face, 4 seconds, 8 words, on a loop he cannot stop. Brooke sits beside him. She knows what her mother did. She has not called Patricia back. The silence between the brothers, the one that should not exist, is the loudest thing in this story, and it is about to break. Irene Monroe doesn't watch the viral video. She reads the statement. That is the difference between Irene and most people who followed this story. While the rest of the country was watching 41 seconds of ballroom footage on a loop, Irene was at her desk at the Crestwood Courier with Magnolia Hall's official statement printed on paper, a yellow legal pad beside it, and a pen moving steadily across the page. She circled the word protocols 4 times. Then she opened a new browser tab and typed Crestwood County Public Records Request Portal. Irene is 41 years old. She has worked at the Courier for 14 years, the last 7, as an investigative reporter. She is not the kind of journalist who chases noise. She is the kind who follows paper procurement records, incident logs, licensing filings, complaint histories, the documents that institutions generate about themselves without intending to tell the truth, and end up telling it anyway. She has broken 3 stories in 4 years that resulted in public officials resigning. She has never once gone viral. She has never once cared. She calls Marcus on the morning of July 4th. He answers on the 3rd ring, voice flat and careful, the voice of a man who has been fielding calls from strangers for 5 days and has gotten very good at deciding in the first 2 seconds whether to keep talking. Mr. Tillman, my name is Irene Monroe. I'm an investigative reporter at the Crestwood Courier. I want to ask you one question, and then you can decide if you want to talk further. A pause. Go ahead. Has anyone from Magnolia Hall contacted you directly to apologize? Silence. Then, no. Has anyone from Magnolia Hall contacted you at all? No. Irene writes that down. I didn't think so, she says. Can we talk? They meet at a diner on Merchant Street the following morning. Marcus orders coffee and doesn't touch it. Irene has a legal pad, a pen, and no recording device. She asks permission before she does anything. They talk for 90 minutes. At the end, Marcus says, I don't want this to just be about me. Irene looks up from her notes. It won't be, she says. I don't think it ever was. And she files her FOIA request that afternoon. What comes back 11 days later is a spreadsheet. Magnolia Hall Estate's internal incident log, 20 months of data. Every removal ejection or security escort recorded under the venue's guest management system. The file has 12 columns. Date, event, type, event. Host individual description stated. Reason for removal. Security officer assigned outcome, and 5 additional administrative fields that Irene ignores for now. She sorts by the column labeled Reason for Removal. She filters for the category Guest Discretion Dress/Appearance. 17 entries. 18 months of data. 17 removals under a single discretionary policy. She reads the description column for each entry slowly, the way she reads everything once for comprehension, once for pattern. Black male mid-30s business casual attire at black tie event. Hispanic female late 20s appearance inconsistent with event profile. Black male 40s attire not aligned with hosting party expectations. Black male 22 blazer and slacks deemed underdressed. Latina female 31 cocktail dress did not match guest list profile. She reads all 17. Then she searches the description column for any removal of a white patron under the same policy category over the same 20-month period. The number is 0. She sits with that for a long moment. 17 and 0. The spreadsheet doesn't editorialize. It doesn't need to. The numbers are a language that requires no translation. She reads several entries aloud to herself at her kitchen table that night, the way her father used to read case files out loud slowly, so the details couldn't hide. March 2024. A black cardiologist named Dr. Antoine Webb attended a Hospital Foundation charity gala at Magnolia Hall. He wore a tailored charcoal suit. Security approached him in the lobby and asked to verify his invitation. His hospital's events coordinator confirmed his attendance 23 minutes later. By then, Dr. Webb had already been walked to the side entrance. No one apologized. He drove home and didn't tell his wife what had happened until 3 weeks later, almost by accident, in a conversation about something else entirely. November 2024. A Latina woman named Elena Reyes attended a private wedding reception at Magnolia Hall as a listed guest. She wore a black cocktail dress and heeled boots. Security told her she didn't match the guest profile and asked her to step outside while they verified her name. Her name was on the list. She showed her ID. They walked her to the door anyway. She cried in the parking lot for nearly 20 minutes, then drove to her mother's house and didn't speak about it for months. January 2025. A 22-year-old black college student named Devonte Marsh attended his cousin's quinceañera at Magnolia Hall wearing a navy blazer and dark slacks. Security stopped him at the ballroom entrance and told him his attire was inconsistent with the event. His cousin confirmed him immediately. He was still walked out before being allowed to re-enter a delay that meant he missed the waltz, which his cousin had specifically asked him to be present for. His complaint to venue management was acknowledged with an automated email and never answered. 3 separate people. 3 separate events. 3 separate variations of a single sentence delivered with polished confidence by men in earpieces. You don't belong here. Irene sets the spreadsheet down. She pulls a second file. Patricia Weston's HOA complaint history, obtained through public records. 3 formal complaints filed in 18 months. All 3 targeting homeowners of color in Patricia's subdivision. A child's birthday party reported for excessive noise. It ended at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. A family's woven welcome mat flagged as an unapproved exterior modification. The complaint was dismissed. A visitor's rental car reported as a suspicious vehicle. It had valid plates, a rental sticker, and a parking permit on the dash. 3 complaints, 3 families, 3 dismissals. But the complaints themselves, the act of filing, of naming, of flagging, do their damage regardless of outcome. They are warning shots disguised as paperwork. Irene stares at the HOA file for a long time. Then her phone rings. It's a woman named Gwen. She says she used to work coat check at Magnolia Hall. She says she left in April. She says she left because of something she calls a culture I couldn't stomach. She says she has something Irene needs to see. Can you meet me tomorrow? Gwen asks. Tell me where, Irene says. The diner is on the south end of Merchant Street, the kind of place that has been there long enough that nobody remembers when it opened. Gwen arrives first. She is 34 slight, with the posture of someone who has been paying close attention to rooms for a very long time. She orders tea she doesn't drink. When Irene sits down across from her, Gwen reaches into her bag without saying hello and slides a folded piece of paper across the table. Irene unfolds it. It is a printed email chain. 2 pages. The sender field at the top reads Patricia Weston. The recipient, Conrad Shale, General Manager, Magnolia Hall Estate. The date, June 27th, 2 days before the wedding. The subject line reads, Saturday Security. The body of the email is 9 sentences. Irene reads it twice before she looks up. Conrad, I want extra eyes at every entrance Saturday evening. Jordan has extended invitations to a number of individuals I have not personally approved. If anyone arrives who is not on my list, not Jordan's list, mine, I want them handled quietly and without disruption to the event. I trust you and your team to use good judgment. This is my daughter's wedding, and I will not have it compromised by poor decisions made in the planning process. Conrad Shale's reply came 38 minutes later. 4 words. Understood. I'll brief Ray. Irene sets the paper down on the table between them. How did you get this? She asks. Gwen wraps both hands around her mug of untouched tea. When I left in April, I forwarded myself some things I thought someone might need someday. She pauses. I watched the video Sunday morning. I knew what I was looking at. You understand I'll need to verify this independently. I know, Gwen says. That's why I came to you instead of just posting it. Irene spends the next 4 days verifying. She runs the email metadata through the courier's digital forensics contact, a former cybersecurity analyst named Patrick Dunn, who does contract work for 3 regional papers. The timestamps are authentic. The email headers match Magnolia Hall's documented server domain. The chain has not been altered. She contacts Patricia Weston's spokesperson with a specific list of questions. No response. She contacts Conrad Shale's office directly. No response. She contacts Magnolia Hall's PR firm. They ask for her questions in writing, receive them, and do not respond. The email is real. Patricia didn't react to Marcus in the moment. She planned his exclusion 48 hours in advance. She sent written instructions to the venue's general manager to ensure that anyone she hadn't personally vetted, anyone who didn't meet her private criteria, would be removed without disruption. She used the language of event management and personal preference. She never mentioned race. She didn't need to. The 17-0 incident log is what her language meant in practice. Irene is still sitting with the email on the morning that the legal letters begin to arrive. The first goes to the Crestwood Courier's editorial office. It is from Kessler Pratt and Dunn, the law firm retained by Magnolia Hall Estate. 10 pages, single-spaced. It accuses Irene of reckless disregard for proprietary business information, tortious interference with contractual relationships, and publication of unverified claims designed to inflict reputational harm. It demands full retraction of any published or forthcoming reporting within 72 hours and threatens a defamation suit seeking $2.8 million in damages. Irene's editor, a man named Bill Calloway, who has run the Courier for 19 years and has never once killed a story he believed in, calls her into his office and sets the letter on the desk between them. He doesn't look worried. He looks like a man doing arithmetic. "Triple source every line from here forward," he says. "Every number, every quote, every document. I need this bulletproof before we go further." "It already is," Irene says. "Then make it more so," Bill says. He slides the letter back across the desk. "They sent this because they're scared. Scared people send expensive letters." The second letter goes directly to Marcus Tillman's East Crestwood apartment. Plain white envelope, a law firm name embossed in small gray type in the upper left corner. Marcus opens it, standing in his kitchen, depot weaving between his ankles. The letter is 4 pages of legal language that reduces at its core to a single message: "Stop talking, or we will bury you in legal costs you cannot afford." It accuses Marcus of making public statements designed to defame and harass Patricia Weston. It demands he cease all media contact, retract any statements made to the press, and deliver a written apology to Mrs. Weston within 14 days. Marcus reads it twice. He folds it carefully and sets it on the kitchen counter next to his coffee mug. Then an anonymous complaint is filed with the City of Crestwood's HR department targeting Marcus. The complaint alleges conduct unbecoming a municipal employee and accuses him of leveraging a public employment position for personal publicity and media engagement. It cites no specific policy violation by name. It offers no evidence. It requires no signature. But it triggers a mandatory administrative review under city employment guidelines, and during that review, Marcus is formally asked to refrain from all media contact. He is given exactly one public comment: 8 words at a gas station. The complaint was filed 2 days after Irene's FOIA request became public record. The timing is not a coincidence. The narrator doesn't say so. The calendar says so. Marcus's overtime requests are denied without explanation for the 3rd consecutive week. His route, the Birch Elm stretch he has driven for 8 years, the one he knows by heart, the one where every resident knows to leave the bins on the left side by 5:15, is reassigned without notice. He is moved to a split route on the opposite side of town. Nobody tells him why. Nobody has to. Gwen stops responding to Irene's texts. Calls go straight to voicemail. Dwight Calder retains his own attorney. Through counsel, he releases a statement: "My actions were intended to assist venue security in maintaining order at a private event. Any characterization of my conduct as racially motivated is categorically false, and I will pursue all available legal remedies against anyone who continues to make such claims." Spencer Ash's attorney issues 3 sentences. Mr. Ash briefly made physical contact with an unidentified individual in an effort to de-escalate a potential disturbance. The contact was minimal and well-intentioned. Mr. Ash has no further comment. The attorney uses the word de-escalate. As though gripping a man's elbow and steering him toward an exit is a form of peacekeeping, as though the disturbance was Marcus's presence rather than what was done to him. Marcus hangs up with Jordan on a Tuesday night. Jordan's voice is thin with exhaustion. Brooke is crying every night. Her mother calls every morning. She's trapped in the middle of it. I don't know what to do, Marcus. You don't have to do anything, Marcus says. This isn't your fight. But it is. Both brothers know it. The silence after Marcus says it lasts longer than the conversation did. That night, Marcus drives to the sanitation depot after hours. He sits in his truck in the empty parking lot. And for the first time since June 28th, he thinks about letting all of it go. The depot parking lot is empty at 12:43 a.m. 8 sanitation trucks sit in their bays like sleeping animals, dark and massive and still. The overhead lamp above the main entrance buzzes with the specific relentless frequency of a light that has needed replacing for months and keeps being overlooked. A moth circles it in tightening loops, drawn to the only warmth in the lot. Marcus sits in his truck with the engine off. The dashboard clock changes. 12:44. The cab smells like work diesel and rubber, and the particular mineral smell of Virginia clay that never fully washes out. He has been in this seat for 11 minutes and has not moved except to reach into the glove compartment. He pulls out Ruth's photo. He has carried it for 13 years. The edges are worn soft from handling the colors faded slightly. Kodak film from 1991, the particular warmth of a decade that no digital filter has ever accurately replicated. Ruth is standing in front of the Crestwood Public Library, a stack of picture books under one arm, smiling at whoever is holding the camera. That was Marcus. He was 4. He doesn't remember taking the photo. He remembers everything about the day anyway. The smell of the library, the sound of the automatic doors, the way she always let him carry one book even when the stack was already too tall. Tucked behind the photo is something else. He doesn't usually look at it. Tonight he pulls it out. It's a library due date card from Ruth's branch, the old kind paper with a slot for a stamp. The book is titled The Boy Who Kept Showing Up. The due dates stamped across it run from September 1991 to March 1993. She must have checked it out 6 or 7 times. He doesn't remember the story. He remembers her reading it. He remembers her voice in the dark of his bedroom, steady and warm, the sound of a world that was still safe. He holds both things, the photo and the card, and looks at them for a long time. He could stop. The HR complaint would run its course and fade. The legal letter from Patricia's attorney would become a file in a drawer. The overtime would come back. His route would come back. The lawyers would find other targets. Brenda Patricia would declare quiet victory at her next Garden Society luncheon, and nobody in that room would say a word. And the 17 people in the Magnolia Hall incident log would remain 17 separate silences, each one filed away in a spreadsheet column and forgotten by the institution that created them. Nobody would blame him. He is a sanitation worker in a fight against people who own buildings and retain law firms, and have the particular stamina of the privileged, an endurance that comes not from strength, but from the confidence that waiting has always worked before. He is one phone call from walking away. His phone rings at 1:17 a.m. Jordan, he answers. Jordan's voice comes through stripped of everything but exhaustion, and something that has not yet found its name. I keep seeing it, Marcus. I keep seeing you walking toward me, and then I'm watching you walk out, and I'm standing there, in my tuxedo, holding a champagne glass, and I don't move. I don't move fast enough. You came after me, Marcus says. Not fast enough. The silence that follows is not awkward. It is the silence between two people who have run out of ways to approach something that doesn't have language yet. Marcus counts the seconds without meaning to. 4, 7, 11. Then Jordan says very quietly, she would have said something. Marcus doesn't ask who he means. She always did, he says. Another silence. Longer. "What are you going to do?" Jordan asks. Marcus looks at the photo of Ruth, at the due date card, at the title of the book she checked out 6 times, The Boy Who Kept Showing Up. "I don't know yet," he says. "I'll call you tomorrow." He sits in the lot for another 20 minutes after he hangs up. The moth is still circling. The clock changes. 1:38. 1:39. He drives home. He sleeps 4 hours. He gets up at 5 a.m., puts on his work polo, laces his boots, and drives to the depot. At 8:15 a.m., he calls Irene Monroe. She picks up on the first ring like she has been waiting, which she has. "Marcus." "I'm in," he says. "Whatever you need." The response is not instantaneous, but it is fast. Within 48 hours of Marcus's decision, attorney Vivian Cole, a civil rights litigator in Richmond, who took the case pro bono after seeing the clip at a gas station, files a petition for a civil rights injunction against Magnolia Hall Estate on behalf of Marcus Tillman and the 17 individuals named in the incident log. The ACLU, Virginia chapter, calls Vivian's office the same afternoon. They see a pattern case. They see precedent. They want in. On a Thursday morning, 65 people gather outside Magnolia Hall Estate. No megaphones, no chanting, just feet on gravel and handmade signs held in quiet hands. One reads 17 names. 0 apologies. Another check the list again. A child tugs her mother's sleeve and asks what injunction means. The mother kneels down and says, "It means making someone follow the rules." Marcus is there. He stands in the back row in his dark green work polo and does not speak. A woman makes her way through the crowd toward him. Elena. Reyes, 31. The Latina woman who cried in the Magnolia Hall parking lot for 20 minutes in November and didn't speak about it for months after. She finds him, and she takes his hand. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. The handshake lasts 4 seconds and says more than any headline written about this story. Jordan makes his first public post that evening. A single photograph. 2 boys on a dock at a river fishing, rods in hand, shoes muddy, maybe 8 and 14 years old. No caption, no statement, no hashtag. 310,000 likes in 6 hours. The comments write the caption for him. The ACLU files for discovery the following Monday. They demand all security communications from June 28th radio logs, internal texts, memos, audio files. Magnolia Hall's attorneys file an immediate objection. The judge overrules it in 4 sentences. What comes back will end this. The discovery materials arrive at the ACLU's Richmond office on a Wednesday morning in 2 sealed cardboard boxes. Vivian Cole signs for them herself. She carries them to the conference room, sets them on the table, and opens them with a paralegal named Dara and a digital forensics consultant named Patrick Dunn, the same man who verified Gwen's email metadata 3 weeks earlier. They work through the contents methodically, the way you unpack something fragile, item by item, no rushing, no assumptions. Most of it is routine. Shift schedules going back 14 months. Vendor contracts for catering florals, valet and audio. Insurance certificates. A 17-page event planning agreement between Magnolia Hall and the Weston family, signed by Conrad Shale and Patricia Weston on March 3rd. Maintenance logs, a staff handbook last updated in 2021. Then they reach the security communications folder. It contains 39 audio files, radio transmissions archived automatically on the venue's own server, time-stamped to the second. Patrick connects his laptop, opens the files in sequence, and begins playing them one by one. Most are routine. Gate positions confirmed. A valet call about a double-parked vehicle. A request for additional ice at the East Bar. A report of a broken heel on the garden path guest is fine, just needs a moment. The ordinary language of a large private event managed by professionals who know how to keep things running smoothly. Then Patrick opens file number 27, timestamp June 19th, 2014. Ray Ochoa's voice comes through the laptop speaker's clear professional, the practiced cadence of a man who has worked security for 20 years and knows how to document. Front desk confirms guest on list. Name Tillman Marcus. Checked in at 19:01. Wristband issued. Proceeding to main ballroom. Dara writes the timestamp on her legal pad. The file doesn't end there. 7 seconds of ambient sound music from the ballroom, the low hum of 200 conversations, the clink of glassware. Ray's radio is still transmitting. Open mic. Then a sound that is not Ray. The shift of fabric, the close proximity of someone standing directly beside him, and a voice that enters the recording the way cold air enters a room when a window opens. A woman's voice, unhurried, flat, spoken with the unquestioned authority of someone who has never had to repeat herself. I don't care what the list says. He's a garbage man. Look at him. Get him out before the photographer comes downstairs. 13 seconds. The room goes still. Vivian says nothing. She reaches forward and clicks play again. The voice fills the conference room a second time. Same cadence, same certainty, same 13 seconds. Patrick is already pulling up his verification software. Dara has stopped writing. Her pen is on the pad, and her hand is flat on the table. Vivian plays it a third time. Then she opens a browser. Tab navigates to a real estate conference archive from 2022 and plays a 40-second clip of Patricia Weston delivering opening remarks at a Virginia property developers summit. Same register, same clipped rhythm, same precision in the consonants, the particular way she lands on the letter T like she is closing a door. Patrick runs the acoustic comparison without being asked. It takes 6 minutes. The result comes back with a consistency rating of 94.3%. That's her, he says. Not a question. He examines the file. Metadata. Creation, timestamp, modification, history, server, pathway. The file was generated by Magnolia Hall's own security archiving system, stored on their own server, and has not been accessed, transferred, or altered since the night it was recorded. The chain of custody is clean. The file is authentic. It has been sitting in Magnolia Hall's own server for 7 weeks, waiting to be requested. She didn't guess. She didn't react in the moment to a misunderstanding. She knew exactly who Marcus Tillman was, a man whose name was on the guest list, a man who had been verified and wristbanded by the front desk 4 minutes earlier, and she gave the order anyway. His job was the reason. His uniform was the evidence. His presence in that room was the offense. He is a garbage man. That was the sentence. That was the whole case. Patrick opens the next file without being asked, file 29. Timestamp 1917-42. Conrad Shale's voice, even and quiet. Ray, is it handled? Ray Ochoa. Yes, sir, he's outside. Shale. Good, keep it clean for the rest of the night. Dara picks her pen back up. She writes 3 words on the legal pad and underlines them twice. Is it handled? Not is the situation resolved. Not is the guest being assisted. Is it handled? The language of a man disposing of a problem. Then Patrick opens the document folder and finds the internal memo. It is dated January 2024, authored by Conrad Shale, addressed to all security and front-of-house staff. Subject line: Guest Screening Discretion Guidelines. 1 page, single-spaced. 5 paragraphs. The memo instructs staff to use visual assessment to evaluate whether a guest's presentation is consistent with the event atmosphere and to prioritize the hosting party's comfort and expectations when making admission decisions. It does not mention race. It does not mention color. It does not name any protected characteristic. The language is careful, institutional, plausibly deniable in any individual case. The 17-0 incident log is what the memo looks like in practice. The words are camouflage. The numbers are the truth. Vivian sits back in her chair. She looks at the two boxes, now mostly emptied, at the legal pad covered in Dara's precise shorthand, at the audio file still open on Patrick's screen, the waveform of Patricia Weston's voice frozen mid-sentence. She picks up her phone and calls Marcus. He answers on the second ring. She can hear road noise. He is in his truck, end of a shift, the city moving past his windows. Marcus, we have the audio. A pause. What audio? Her voice, on the security radio, recorded by the venue's own system. 13 seconds, unaltered, authenticated. Vivian pauses. She said it, Marcus. On the record, in their own archive. The road noise continues. He doesn't speak for 4 seconds. What does it mean? He asks. It means, Vivian says, that she will have to answer for it, under oath, in a courtroom, with her own voice playing through the speakers above her head. The hearing is set for August 22nd. August 22nd arrives the way consequential days always do, quietly, without ceremony, indistinguishable from the outside, from any other Thursday morning in Crestwood. The courthouse on Bellamy Street smells like old wood and floor wax, and the particular stillness of a building that has absorbed decades of human consequence and learned to hold it without comment. The fluorescent lights in courtroom 4 hum at a frequency just below conscious awareness. The oak benches in the gallery are full by 8:40 a.m. Reporters with laptops, community members who drove from Richmond and Henrico County, and 2 who came from as far as Roanoke without telling anyone why. And in the third row from the back, a 15-year-old girl named Kayla, who asked her mother to bring her, and didn't have to explain why twice. The clerk calls case number 2, 5-CV-4417 at 9:03 a.m. Everyone rises. Judge Gerald Tillman is not on the bench. He recused himself 7 weeks ago, the morning after Marcus told him about the audio file, not because the law required him to, at that precise moment, but because he has spent 30 years building a reputation for integrity, and he will not compromise it now. Not even for this. Not even for his son. His portrait hangs in the hallway outside courtroom 4, behind glass beside 2 other former presiding judges of this circuit. His absence from the bench has the particular weight of a presence that chose to stand aside. Presiding today is Judge Sandra Okafor, visiting from the 14th Circuit. Silver locks, pulled back reading glasses on a chain. A dark robe that fits like it was made for her specifically. Her voice does not rise or fall. It arrives at the same measured temperature, regardless of what is being said or who is saying it, and this, more than anything else, is what makes her formidable. Marcus takes the stand at 9:22 a.m. He testifies in plain language. No performance, no embellishment, no attempt to make the story larger than it already is. He describes the overtime call at 3:42 p.m. He describes the text to Jordan. He describes arriving at Magnolia Hall at 7:03 p.m. in his work polo. He describes the check-in name found box-checked wristband issued. He describes walking across the ballroom floor. He describes Patricia stepping into his path. He describes identifying himself. He describes Dwight Calder's palm against his chest, and Spencer Ash's grip on his elbow, and Ray Ochoa arriving with a second guard, and the walk across the marble floor to the door. He describes the 14 minutes in his truck. Vivian Cole asks, Did anyone at the venue verify your identity before initiating the removal? No. Were you asked to show identification? No. Were you given a reason for the removal? I was told the bride's mother wanted me out. That was the only reason I was given. And at that point, had anyone from the venue's staff contacted the groom to confirm your relationship to him? No, not while I was still inside. Vivian walks to the audio system mounted beside the witness stand. She looks at Judge Okafor. The judge nods. The recording plays through the ceiling-mounted speakers. Ray Ochoa's voice, first professional routine, confirming Marcus Tillman guest verified wristband issued, proceeding to main ballroom. 7 seconds of ambient sound. And then Patricia Weston's voice entering the recording the way a cold front enters a weather system without announcement, without hesitation, absolute in its certainty. I don't care what the list says. He is a garbage man. Look at him. Get him out before the photographer comes downstairs. The courtroom goes silent. Not the polite quiet of a proceeding in order. Something heavier. The silence of 200 people absorbing the specific weight of a sentence spoken by a woman who never imagined it would be heard outside the moment she said it. A legal pad slides off the edge of the gallery bench behind Marcus and hits the floor. Nobody picks it up. That is the only sound for 6 full seconds. In the third row from the back, Kayla sits completely still with her hands folded in her lap and her eyes on Marcus's face, and does not look away. Patricia Weston takes the stand at 10:41 a.m. Cream blazer. No pearls today. Her posture is the posture of a woman who has prepared for this, who has rehearsed her version of events until it is smooth and consistent and internally coherent. She states that she was concerned about an unrecognized individual at her daughter's private event. She states that race played no part in her request to security. She states that she acted out of reasonable concern and in good faith. Her attorney walks her through her version with the precision of a man who has spent 3 months building a structure he hopes will hold. Then Vivian cross-examines. She reads the June 27th email aloud into the record. Every word. If anyone arrives who is not on my list, not Jordan's list, mine, I want them handled quietly. She pauses after quietly. She lets it sit in the air. Then she plays the recording again. Then she puts the 17-entry incident log on the screen, a chart, clean and simple, dates down the left column, individual descriptions in the center, outcomes on the right. 17 entries, 18 months. Every single person described as a person of color. The 0 is not stated aloud. It doesn't need to be. The chart speaks in arithmetic. Patricia's attorney objects. Judge Okafor overrules without looking up. Dwight Calder takes the stand. He invokes the Fifth Amendment 4 times. Each time the courtroom hears the question, he is refusing to answer, and the refusal itself becomes its own form of testimony. Spencer Ash testifies. He admits he made physical contact. He calls it a stabilizing gesture. Vivian plays the video on the courtroom screen, Spencer's hand clamped on Marcus's elbow, knuckles visibly white, the angle of the grip pointing unmistakably toward the exit. She says nothing after it plays. She looks at Spencer. She looks at the judge. She sits down. Conrad Shale testifies last. He admits the discretion policy was never reviewed by legal counsel. He admits he received Patricia's email and acted on it without question. He admits he did not contact the groom to verify Marcus's identity before or during the removal. He admits that the venue's own front desk had already confirmed Marcus as a listed guest 4 minutes before the removal began. Judge Sandra Okafor issues her ruling from the bench at 2:17 p.m. Her voice is the same temperature it has been all morning. Preliminary injunction granted. Magnolia Hall Estate is ordered to suspend the discretion policy immediately, to submit to independent civil rights compliance review, to produce a fully revised and legally vetted guest screening protocol within 60 days. The court's written opinion will state, when an institution's own records contradict its testimony, the records speak louder. The pattern of selective enforcement, combined with authenticated recorded communications, establishes a clear likelihood of discriminatory practice sufficient to warrant injunctive relief. Patricia Weston goes pale. It is the first time in this story that her composure breaks, not dramatically, not visibly to everyone in the room. But the woman beside her puts a hand on her arm, and Patricia does not shake it off. She sits very still and looks at the surface of the table in front of her. For the first time in this story, she has nothing to say. Justice doesn't arrive the way movies suggest, with swelling music and a single decisive moment where everything rights itself at once. It arrives the way the tide comes in, quietly, incrementally. One thing at a time until you look up and the landscape has changed completely. The morning after the ruling, Magnolia Hall Estate's discretion policy is suspended. A notice goes up on the internal staff portal. The wording is institutional, careful, bloodless pending compliance review. All guest admission decisions will follow, standard verified list protocol only, but the meaning underneath is plain. The policy that produced 17 removals and 0 accountability is over. Conrad Shale resigns the following Friday. No press release. A brief internal memo to staff, thanking them for their professionalism, wishing the venue well under new leadership. He is out of the building by noon. The estate's ownership group brings in an independent civil rights consultant named Dr. Angela Reese from the University of Richmond, who will spend 90 days reviewing every policy, procedure, and training protocol the venue operates under. The entrance sign comes down for repainting. The new name hasn't been announced, but the old one is already gone. 3 event bookings cancel within the first week after the ruling: a corporate holiday party, a charity gala, and a private birthday celebration. A 4th, a law firm's annual dinner, quietly moves to a hotel downtown without public announcement. The estate's online review rating drops to 2.0 before beginning a slow, uncertain climb back under new management. The recovery, if it comes, will take time. The damage took 13 seconds. Dwight Calder loses 2 commercial development contracts within 6 weeks of the hearing. Both clients cite the publicity and termination letters that are careful not to use the word discrimination, but do not need to. His firm's third-quarter projections are revised downward. His attorney has advised him against any further public statements. He has followed that advice precisely. Spencer Ash steps down from the Crestwood Garden Society board on a Tuesday afternoon in September. He emails his resignation to the board chair and does not attend his final meeting. No statement. His neighbors on Hartwell Drive notice that he has stopped attending the monthly Block Association gatherings. Nobody says anything about it. Nobody needs to. The Virginia Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation formally opens its ethics review of Patricia Weston's real estate license on September 3rd, citing conduct inconsistent with fair housing principles. The review is not a formality. 2 senior agents at Weston Premier Properties announce their departures in the same week, separate statements, same timing. The brokerage has not replaced them. Patricia's name returns to the company website, but in a smaller font, further down the page. The diamond brooch has not been seen in public since August 22nd. 3 of the HOA complaints. Patricia filed against neighbors of color are re-examined by the subdivision's board following a formal request from a fair housing advocacy group. The families who were targeted are contacted in writing and informed of the outcomes. The welcome mat is back on the front porch. It has been there since July. Nobody filed a complaint about it the second time out. Vivian Cole files a companion civil suit on behalf of Marcus and the 17 individuals named in the incident log. Settlement negotiations are ongoing. The terms are not public. What is public is that Magnolia Hall's insurance carrier is at the table, and they have brought their own attorneys, and those attorneys have been in the conference room every day for 2 weeks. Irene Monroe's story runs in the Crestwood Courier and is picked up by the AP Wire, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and 3 national outlets. She doesn't go on television. She files her next story about fair housing complaint patterns across 4 Virginia counties, from her desk on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, yellow legal pad beside her laptop, the same way she files every story. Bill Calloway reads it before it publishes and tells her it's her best work. She tells him she's working on something better. He believes her. Kayla, 15 years old, 3rd row from the back, writes a letter to the Crestwood Courier. It is published in the op-ed section on a Sunday morning in September and is word for word the most honest thing printed in that paper all year. She writes, "I was in that ballroom. I saw it happen. I raised my hand. I didn't raise it all the way, and I have thought about that every single day since June 28th. I want everyone who was in that room to know that I know what I did and what I didn't do. I won't freeze again." The letter runs under her full name. She asked for that specifically. Jordan makes a quiet donation of $7,500 to the Virginia ACLU chapter in late August. Anonymous. Irene finds out through a source 3 weeks later and mentions it to no one. The brothers never discuss it. They don't need to. Marcus returns to the Birch Elm route on a Monday morning in early September. His overtime requests are processed the same week they are submitted. His crew has left a card on his dashboard, handmade blue marker, on a folded piece of cardstock, slightly crooked letters that took someone longer to write than they would admit. Still, the best driver in Crestwood. Good to have you back, T. He reads it twice. He puts it in his locker next to Ruth's photo and the library due date card from the book she checked out 6 times. On a Saturday in mid-September, Jordan drives to East Crestwood. He parks in front of Marcus's building and calls from the curb. They sit on the front porch steps as the afternoon light goes amber and then gold. Depot lies between them, chin on Marcus's boot. The Virginia humidity has finally broken. The air is light and dry for the first time since June, and the evening feels like an exhale the summer has been holding for 3 months. The fireflies come out as the sky darkens. Same hedges as the Magnolia Hall parking lot. Different context entirely. Jordan is quiet for a long time. Then he says, "You were supposed to be my best man." Marcus doesn't hesitate. "I still am." They sit there until the stars come out. Neither one needs to say anything else. Somewhere across town, in a ballroom built for other people's celebrations, the entrance sign is still down, the new name not yet chosen. The floors have been repolished. The chandeliers have been cleaned. The marble is flawless. But if you look closely, if you know where to look, you can still find the faint impressions left by a pair of work boots on the night of June 28th. The cleaning crew missed one near the 3rd table from the left. A partial print barely visible, just the heel and the outer edge of a sole. A man in a dark green work polo walked across this floor. He was grabbed. He was removed. He was told in 13 seconds of recorded audio exactly what he was worth to the people in that room. And then he kept showing up anyway. Not because he knew his father was a judge. Not because he knew the cameras were rolling, not because he knew what was coming, because his mother read him a book 6 times when he was small, and somewhere in those pages, in that dark room, in that steady voice, he learned that showing up is not a privilege. It is a right. It belongs to every person who walks through a door, regardless of what they're wearing, regardless of what they do for a living, regardless of what someone in a white pantsuit decides about them before they speak a single word. Marcus Tillman knew that on June 28th. He knew it on August 22nd. He knows it still.